If you've struggled with stress, balance, or burnout, and simply feel discouraged or even defeated, and if you're ready to move from force to flow and enjoy ultimate Zen success in your career, health, or relationships, then the Zen Success Show is for you. Your host, Carissa Sims, is an entrepreneur, corporate consultant, best-selling author, meditation teacher, and healer who has found her own Zen success. Here's your host, Carissa Sims. Welcome to this week's episode of Zen Success. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Tracy Kemble. Hi, Tracy.
Hello, everyone.
Dr. Tracy, Ph.D., the author of Narc.tion.ar.y, is a thought leader, entrepreneur, and women's empowerment expert with over 30 years experience in teaching life transformation. I was so excited when I was reading about you. She is an author of 5 books and is known in the industry as the self-love recovery coach. Her coin phrase, self-love is non-negotiable, is her life motto, as she believes self-love is the primary foundation one needs to build a successful, safe, and prosperous life. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to meet you and have this chat today.
Yes, me too. I'm really excited to learn from your wisdom and to go deeper into this self-love. Can I just ask, what do you prefer to be called? Dr. Tracy?
You can call me Dr. Tracy. You can call me Tracy.
Okay.
Whatever
Maybe there
comes
needs
out
to
naturally.
be like Dr. Self-Love or Dr. Love.
And I'm born on Valentine's Day. Yeah, it would be proper for that. I'm an Aquarian born on Valentine's Day. So
really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so perfect. Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. An Aquarian born on Valentine's Day. Oh, how sweet of you to share that. So where are you calling in from today?
I'm actually in Greece.
Oh, Greece.
Yes.
Bring some of that Athena goddess energy to our talk today.
I will, every year, Greece was a big manifestation endpoint for me in that I love this country. So I live between California and Greece, which I'm very lucky for that. And
oh, wonderful! What city?
Yeah, here in Greece, in a little area called Voulagmeni or Kavouri, and
Okay.
it's beautiful. It sits right. I won't open the drapes right now, but the sun coming through is because it's about to set any minute now, so it lights up way too much. But it's really exciting. And every year here in September, I do a big women's conference. It's called Discover the Divine, and it's really, really magical, especially being here in the land of the goddesses. And it's an exciting conference, and we have around 30 to 40 countries who are attending.
Wow. And that's coming up. I'm going to have to release this episode so people can learn about it and sign up unless it's sold out. Is it sold out?
We have a few more slots available, and we've been asked to live stream it. So possibly can attend by the live stream.
Okay, wonderful. So why Greece? Like, why do you feel like maybe you've had a past life there, or you're really connected to the land? Do you have family or heritage there?
I think that people say, "Are you Greek?" to me all the time. I'm like, no, but
I know, because you look like you could be. I mean, you have that beauty. Like,
I'm actually Latina and American Indian Cherokee.
Oh, I see.
So I have always been enchanted with Greece ever since I was little. And the first time I came here, my foot stepped on the ground. I went, oh, I felt like I could breathe. And so I just knew that, I believe that all the world is energy, and that there's certain places in the world where we just vibrate higher, that our soul just nestles in here. And Greece is just my happy place. And so I spend part of my life here and part of my life in California.
Oh, wonderful. Where in California?
In Southern California, in an area called Newport Beach.
Yeah. Yeah, Newport Beach. I think people have heard of Newport Beach. If you haven't, it's a gorgeous area of Orange County. Lots of boating. There's islands. Yeah, I have friends that live there, and yeah, so I've
And where are
spent
you
time
located?
there. I'm located in Colorado.
Oh,
I live in
beautiful.
Lafayette, Colorado. I lived in LA, just north of Newport Beach, for about 20 years, and then
Okay,
moved with my family here about 4 years ago.
great,
So,
great.
so yeah. And I kind of had that same connection where I felt like this is our next step. This is our next phase for our family, so coming
I
here.
think that, it's so important when I work with my clients that one of the things is, we have to be with the people we want. We have to have the positions that we desire, and we have to live in the place that vibrates high in our soul. And there's the 5 P's that we need, but that's just understanding where when you wake up in the morning and just the vibration of the area that you reside in. To me, it's a non-negotiable.
That's amazing. And you wrote a book, all right, that about that.
I did. I mean, I actually have one. My life slogan is self-love is non-negotiable, and the reason that that's so important is because I think, especially as women, we are not really taught what non-negotiable is. And
That's true.
right, and we get ourselves in uncomfortable predicaments and situations because we negotiate things that are just never to be up for negotiation. We negotiate our economic value, we negotiate our safety, we negotiate our sanity. And for me, having done all those things, that what I really discovered that I was negotiating was this amazing thing called self-love. And because I had such high levels of narcissism um, in my life, like my entire life, I had a big confusion as to what was authentic self-love versus what is narcissistic
Mm,
um, egoism, personality disorder.
mm,
And so and I had spent years on the cushion in the couch and in therapy, and what is wrong with me, and how to get better, and I think it all culminated when I found myself once again in an awful stage of life, filled with fear and anxiety and depression, and working hard to have little results and investing love only to being made to feel loveless. And then I began to learn about this whole thing called narcissism and narcissistic abuse trauma. And I was like handmade for all that. And what I discovered along my journey is that narcissism is a spectrum disorder. And here's healthy narcissism that we all need. And as it goes on up the scale, it then goes into narcissistic characteristics. And then it goes into narcissistic personality disorder. And then it goes into antisocial personality disorder, which is sociopath and psychopath. And these are the people we just want to stay away from. But what was a big game changer to me is that on the opposite side of this spectrum is a condition called self-love deficiency disorder. And right when I heard that word, that term, I was like, what is this? And how is it that I'm, at that time pushing 40, and I'm just hearing about this condition? How is that possible? Well, to make a
yeah.
long story short, I made a really big mind shift and commitment to myself, because I don't commit to other people. I only commit to myself. And I said, I'm going to take my eyes off of the trauma. And instead, I'm going to focus 100% of my energy in healing this self-love deficiency disorder. And what I discovered was that one focused recovery transformation journey changed the trajectory of everything, with that element of self-love as my foundation, a healthy element of self-love as my foundation. Love addiction goes away, codependence go away, unhealthy relationships go away, the negotiating your non-negotiables, which is your safety and your joy and your sanity, boom, gone. And so to me, it's absolutely non-negotiable to not operate with a foundation of self-love.
That's amazing. I want to dive deeper into that, but I want to touch on just like a few things that you said. When you said that you were familiar with narcissism, does that mean it was maybe undiagnosed in your family members? Was it you? Did you feel like you had a predisposition? Were you attracting this type of person in romantic relationships? How is it showing up for you in your life?
So for me, I was raised with a family member who, at the time, of course, you don't know because people weren't talking about it,
Well,
but who,
plus you're a kid.
yeah, exactly right, who had narcissism. So, people often, and my life reached a stage of, of course, attracting and marrying into narcissism. And, people ask me, well, how did you get to this point? And I said, well, it was normalized for me that I thought that this narcissistic personality was the normal way people behaved and the normal way people loved. And it's not that I ever liked it. And it's not that it ever did not hurt. It always left you void and confused and, with a mush brain and all the different dynamics that go along with it. I just thought it was something normal. And so,
Yeah. Plus, you could have been just repeating patterns. You felt comfortable. It's when you grow up in that feels right. That was
yeah,
modeled for you.
yeah, it at least feels normal. I don't know if it felt right because I always felt that something was wrong.
Oh,
But it
got it. So you did
certainly,
have that intuition.
yeah. Well, it just hurt. It was just uncomfortable. It was just, life was just so difficult. And one of my commitments to myself and also what I teach in my classes is that, living is to be effortless. That if we're working too hard at any one thing, we have the wrong formula. And we need to find a
Mm.
different formulas because life is supposed to be effortless.
Oh my gosh, you're such my soul sister. Do you know the theme of this show, Zen Success, moving from force to flow?
Oh, there you go. There you go.
That's so beautiful. What an incredible message. And also to like go see back at where you come from and this journey so that you can help others. I mean, maybe they didn't have like a model of narcissism, but they're not loving themselves the way they need to. So, I mean, you talked about self-love a little bit. I want to go deeper. So how do you feel that self-love is key to manifesting a successful life, an effortless life?
Well, I think it's the key foundation. It's, when you're baking a cake, you need some primary um, ingredients in order to create a cake. And if you're going to manifest a life, what are the best way that I can put it is you cannot be a depressed manifester. I mean, you can
Oh,
because we are manifesting all the time, but you can't be what I call a miraculous manifester because I'm working on my next book right now. It's called The Formula, and it's
oh, cool. Is that going to
yeah,
talk about the 5 Ps that you were talking about before?
well, yeah, I'm going
Oh,
to mention. I'll
oh,
mention
you'll
those,
mention that in a
but
minute. Okay.
but this particular book is, I love talking about self love. I love talking about recovery. I love talking about the divine, and I love talking about manifesting. And so those are like my key ingredients to life. And with that being said, that there are in my book, the formula, and it's how to become a miraculous manifester. And being that
That's going to be
somebody
so good.
being that somebody we all manifest, right? But
Of
I was
course, we
manifesting
either
a real
manifest by reaction or be proactive. Yeah.
right. And so as I was, laying the footprint down to this book, I said, oh my gosh, you know what, I identify it as, like 4 or 5 different types of manifesting. There's messy manifesting. um, And a messy manifester is somebody who doesn't have any idea how energy works and thought and feeling and that whole component. So
But they
they're
can be very successful, right?
yes, but messy manifestors, in my opinion, are the people who continue to manifest messes in their life.
I see. I see. That's what
So
you mean.
yeah,
Mhm.
so they're just messy manifestors. Been there, done that. Then as I began to grow on up the scale, I then became a manic manifester. And a manic manifester is one of those people who they really want to understand and they want to believe in this whole thing called manifesting, but they're just don't quite have all the tools. And so they're, moving what's called the money guy, the little Chinese money guy with his hand like this, and they're burning their candles and their sage, and they're doing their mantras, and they're just so busy trying anything to get their manifestations, except really concentrating on what's happening here and here.
Mm.
And then as it moves on
Yeah,
up the
seeing
scale,
it outside of themselves, like they have to set up these things outside of themselves. Yeah, that makes sense.
exactly. So they're kind of manic. They're just like all over the board trying to get it done, but they're not peaceful and they're not enjoying the journey. They're just like kind of holding their breath for that thing to hopefully come through the door and whatnot. And then I have magical manifestors, and I was a magical manifester for a long time. And that's somebody who is, you've got a lot of the information in there, and but there's the biggest gap of time that your things come through, but by the time they come through to you, so much time has passed. And as
You're
I
like, do I
believe
want that anymore? No. Or-
exactly, and I'll tell you what happened is and I thought that I had arrived. I'm like, gosh, I really have a great life and everything, and
Mm.
there was still effort put into it though.
Yeah.
And so what happened a few years back is I got diagnosed with cancer.
Oh my
And
God.
yeah,
Oh.
and so I had to go through all that. Well, I manifested it myself because I allowed stress to overtake I use my body as a stress storage ground. So,
Mhm.
the body
Mhm.
is going to rebel against that. And I at that time was, in my upper 50s. And so I realized I don't have 7 years to wait for the things that I want to
Mm.
experience.
Mhm.
And so in my prayer and meditation time, it all of a sudden just drops into my spirit, and it said miraculous manifesting. And I'm like, what's miraculous manifesting? And miraculous manifesting is being able to use all the wonderful tools that are here available to each and every one of us, but it just things happen instantaneously, things happen really fast, and you no longer have to white knuckle your way into waiting for things to happen. And if things do go into a pause, there is such a peace about it that if not this, then something better is coming my way. And it's just a magical way to live life.
Wow, that's amazing. We have something in common there too. In 2020, I was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, you
And
were?
yeah, and it's like, can you see our energy? Like we're both smiling about it because I feel like it was a great gift
Me
to
too.
me. Yeah, you too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's like it got me to release and heal the trauma. So I definitely manifested it so that I could heal, so that I could ascend higher, so that maybe I could help others diagnosed with cancer, whatever it might be, but also stress and also maybe not loving myself
Yeah.
like you were alluding to before. So that, I mean, of course, cancer is so many different things, but I believe the psychological component is a huge component of cancer.
Absolutely. It is. And I think that, going through it is everybody has their own journey through it. One of the things that I chose not to do is I chose not to form a relationship with it. And yeah,
Yay.
I
Yay.
just
And what did that
absolutely.
look like? Did that look like not telling people, or what did that? because that's
Yeah,
why it showed up for me. I didn't want to necessarily have that label because people started to have pity on me and I didn't like that interaction.
exactly. So what I found is, in general, I'm a relatively private person.
Mm.
And so when it happened, um, I said to my husband, I want this just to be a private thing. And where I was really confirmed by this is he had accidentally mentioned something to somebody that he closely worked with.
Oh,
And this person called me. It was a female, and she called me and sent me. Well, the first thing she did is she sent me this huge bouquet of flowers that should be on a tombstone. Um,
I'm sorry that you said a tombstone.
right? I mean, but
Yeah.
seriously, I'm like, why are you
It
sending me?
felt embarrassing, maybe.
Yeah, and you know, how are you? And I thought,
Oh, yeah.
well, I'm fine, and I wasn't even thinking about it until you called up and
I'm
made me
sorry, I'm
think
laughing.
about it. No, no, it's true.
Yeah.
You can laugh. And what
Yeah.
I found is, the few people who did know, and of course some people find out along the ways, but what I found is that I was calming other people down about my condition, and the question, like, well, how did you know? You're not asking for my sake, you're asking for your sake. Go Google it. It's all
Because
out
it
there, how
it
you can.
creates that fear in them, right? That it could be them. That if it
Exactly.
happened to you, you're so amazing, it could happen to me or whatever.
Yeah, and so I really buckled down, and I said, nobody is allowed to bring this up unless I bring it up, and minus my parents. I are my immediate family. As I said, you are permitted to ask me once a day how I am, and other than that, we're not talking about it. We're not going to sit around and have pity parties and fear parties and all these things.
Yes.
So I did everything, from the Western and Eastern medicines, and I followed protocol right down, and I showed up when I needed to show up, and I did my part. And then even little things like when I would go in for my treatment, I think I was there the first 3 or 4 days, and I would go, and then I would have to undress, and I would have to put on the hospital wardrobe and blah blah blah. And then one day I said, I'm not doing this. I'm going to walk in, get my treatment, stay dressed, walk out, and in and out, like grocery shopping, grab what you need, put your nutrients, and move on. And
Yeah,
I
and that was okay not to wear the gown.
yeah,
Those
yeah,
gowns are
yeah,
awful. They're
awful.
awful. Can we like
Just a
redesign them?
psychological. I know. And just a cycle, you're so vulnerable and you're cold, and you're
Yes.
like, that's the last thing you need. And
Yeah.
so that personal boundary, and of course, to the people who, like my parents, and who love and respect me, I had a little chat that I would just say, okay, this is how I am, because I, I didn't, what I found was the most, I'll use a heavier word, toxic for me though, was just being fine, feeling good, not thinking about it. And then somebody would, take me to that place, and disturb my peace. So for me personally, it was best to get through it. And now I can easily talk about it.
Oh, beautiful. Because you're in remission now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay,
you too?
wonderful. And me too. Can you tell? Because
Yeah.
I'm smiling.
Yes.
Like we
Exactly.
did it, girl.
Exactly.
And I
Exactly.
think there you said so much wisdom there about that. And I didn't, know we were going to be talking about this. But it is so beautiful because it can really apply, I feel, to any disease or pain. Don't necessarily get caught up in the story
Right.
of you have this, because then it's like it belongs to you. Like changing your wording, like not letting people, like you said, be toxic around you. And yeah, it was beautiful. Unfortunately, the people that I told still did that, but I love how you set boundaries, because I think I probably didn't love myself to set those boundaries for my family and everything else. My kids were like, oh, you're not going to die. It's so funny how they were just so grounded in the truth that I was going to make it,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
I had that
So
in my husband. He's like, nope, or, and he was a champion. I mean, I had a huge support system, which I think is, and when I say a huge support system, I don't mean I had a lot of people, but in 1 year he went to, 316 doctor appointments with me. And just having, that person drop me off, pick me up, and and not have to, where am I going to park? And do I, because you really get, I don't know if you had radiation, but I had total radiation brain when it was at the time it was over. And it's just part of the process, though.
it's part of
Part of
it.
the process.
Yeah. Yeah,
The
totally.
most important thing is survivable.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So let's shift. So you're married. Are you still married?
I am. I've been
Oh,
married 30 years almost.
how many?
30.
Oh my God. I was like, what? And you say that with a smile. So, oh my gosh. And so how did you guys meet? And did you have narcissistic relationships before him? And then he was just like this amazing person that you were able to connect with?
It's all of the above. So, as I said, I was raised in a narcissistic relationship with my father. I
Okay.
should say who it is, and I love my dad, and we have a really good relationship because somebody who has narcissism. They say that no contact is the best way to do it. Just no contact is no contact, and
Mm,
that's not always possible, because what if the person with
yeah.
narcissism is a parent or a child or a sibling
Right.
or somebody that you have to work with, et cetera, et cetera. And so once I understood, what this is, that I was able to protect myself. And it's no different than, for example, I refer to it as episodes, oh yeah, they're being episodic today. And
Mm.
I wouldn't be screaming and yelling at somebody who's having an epileptic seizure. So therefore,
Interesting.
when it happens, I just formed this disconnect, because one of the things that if you have a narcissist in your life, it feels so personal. And
Ah, yeah. Like it's only about you, but it's
Mhm.
really about them and their fear, maybe.
Yeah, and before I had that sense of self-love and that sense of clear visibility, because when you're raised in a narcissistic family, you don't have a sense of visibility. When I walked into the therapist said, why are you here? And I said, because my brain feels that it's made of mush and I feel invisible.
Oh,
And but that's, if you're a child raised in narcissism, no child comes out unscathed. You're going to end up being the scapegoat child. You're going to be the invisible child, which is the role that I took on. You're going to be the family healer, or
mhm.
you're going to be the next
Which you
generation
have some of that
narcissist.
too, don't you? The family healer
Yeah, yeah. Now I have it healthy. Well, most
in a healthy way. Okay.
yeah, in the world of narcissism, there's only two types of relationship that keep it sustainable. It's a narcissist with a narcissist, and they kind of like the knives sharpen each other, and they stay in front of the mirror,
Oh my
impressed
God.
with themselves, impressed with the other person, um, or a narcissist and a self-deprecate. And a self-deprecate, and that AKA
That's
somebody
right.
with self-love deficiency disorder, or a word that you would more appreciate is a wounded empath. And
Yeah, because I have heard that healers, like powerful women, successful women, it doesn't matter, but it's that feeling, like you're saying, of that wounded healer or
yeah, so
self-deprecating.
they're that wounded empath. And so, as you're just such a big feeler in life, it's only natural to take things personal. And so when I learned the whole understanding that it's not personal, and it's all in my book, the
Yeah, I'm
Narc.tion.ar.y.
so glad you mentioned it. Yes.
Yeah, this is just a great book that, it's funny because when people, as an author, people say, oh, how long did it take you to write the book? And this particular book, I would like to say it took me 8 weeks, but it took me 8 weeks and 30 years, so
Yeah. It took you 30 years to have the courage, maybe, or to realize that you needed to for
the
healing.
lessons, just,
Yeah.
just the lessons to get to the point that you actually can write something that will create healing,
Mm.
instead of just a book of, dumping your pain out without a clear roadmap to recovery.
Yeah, yeah, that's so incredible. So then you were already doing some healing 30 years ago, and then you met your husband.
So our beautiful relationship was, I no I'll just give a brief overview. So I went to college, and when I was in college, I ended up meeting. And I came from a very conservative background. I was very naive and sheltered and things of that nature. I didn't know how the world worked. And
Oh, yeah.
so I met somebody, and shortly thereafter married, and found myself living in one of the scariest places of my life. My very first book is called The Courage to Say No More. And
Okay.
in hindsight, this person was a very a rageaholic narcissist, a very scary, scary person, a
Mm.
victim of child abuse, narcissistic abuse himself, and grew up to continue on the choices of his parents that he saw. And so what happened is, fast forward my life, and I left that relationship. I had to go into hiding, and it's all in my book, The
Oh,
Courage to Say No More.
wow.
And then
That is
fast forward.
incredible.
Yeah, it's quite a story. And then fast forward, met my husband, and we married, and then I found myself feeling a lot of the old emotions, and this was several years into the marriage. And to be quite honest, my husband and I I pause to share this because I know that many people who are in narcissistic relationships always have that question, can they change? And so what happened is that
Uh,
my husband has narcissistic tendencies, and so this is where I just began to dive in and say, okay, what is this that I'm dealing with? And he's a great man, but there were just things in there that I personally could not weather that storm anymore. And so when I was able to start giving name to it, and I've been running a recovery program for 30 years. And the beautiful thing is, if I were to pull him on the camera right now, and you were to say, "So, do you think you have narcissism?" He'd be, "Yeah, Rooney, I've got that thing."
that is so healthy.
Well, it
I
is.
mean,
And one of of course, we reached a tipping point in our relationship where it's like, I'm not living my life under these stressors anymore, because, one of my non-negotiable, one of my birthrights is I have a right to a happy life.
mm,
And it's not my job to make you comfortable with me or you comfortable in life. My job is to make me comfortable and happy in this journey. We're all responsible for our own journey.
and that's
So
what you were saying, you commit to yourself.
I commit only to myself. And so that big tipping point that we had as a couple is just like an alcoholic needs to go into recovery. I had to go and do my part, which was healing my self-love deficiency disorder, continue, because I had been on, the journey for a long time. Now it had a really clear name, and he had to do his part. And, it's open conversation. It's, if it flares up, I'll be like, hey, 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 nope, not not in this house. And then
So
he
yeah,
catch,
you're able to like catch him, and he respects you, knowing that you know
yes,
when to do it instead of like reacting to it.
yes, and that is very, very, very few and far
Oh
between.
yeah, I'm
And
sure.
it's because he has narcissistic characteristics, not narcissistic personality disorder. And the thing about, people say, well, can narcissists heal? The Yes, they can. However, the most difficult thing about this condition is that, in order to heal, just like alcoholism, you have to admit that there's a problem. And the
Mhm.
dynamic of a narcissist is doesn't want to admit that there's anything wrong with them. And it's only when they can hit that rock bottom and they start losing the important people around them that they'll do a wake up call.
And so he was afraid he might lose you. And did he have to go inside and realize that he loved you so much that he would do that?
Yeah, and the way that he describes it is he says, he's in his own words, he says, I don't like who I became. And that right there is, that's the pivot to all of our transformation. Just when we look at our life and say, wait a minute, this has nothing to do with anybody else, what happened to me, my past, my present, blah blah. It has to do that when I look in the mirror, I'm ashamed of who I have become and the choices that I'm making, first to hurt myself, and then the spill out of that is to hurt other people.
Yeah. I'm just curious. Did you grow up in California?
I did.
Oh, you did.
I
Okay.
did.
Did you grow up in the area that you live now or Southern
I
California?
didn't. I grew
Okay.
up south of Santa Barbara County in an area called Ventura County.
Oh yeah, I know Ventura. Yeah, I went to school in Santa Barbara,
Okay.
UCSB.
Oh my goodness. My
So,
sister went to UCSB.
oh, wonderful. Yeah. So you're, yeah, Central Cali girl. That's awesome. I mean, now you're Newport, but that's wonderful. Um, I know that we just talked about, we went deep fast, and I appreciate that. I love hearing about your journey and also your humbleness, and saying that this is a situation in your relationship and he chose to heal and you both were healing together. And that's so amazing. And now you have this incredible reward, right? With a happy marriage, living in both places.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm able to, um, when you live, going back to one of the arts of manifesting is that, you cannot be a depressed, miraculous manifester. You cannot be a stressed out. The reason that I'm able to create my life by design as quickly as I do on a day in and day out basis is, first off, it's an exercise and a tool that I've been practicing. A lot of my friends have been going to the gym for 30 years. Well, I've been going to, manifestation makeover for 30 years. So to me, I'm in really good shape when it comes to that. But my big epiphany was to realize that one of the things that's blocking me on being able to create my life is not living in a peaceful environment. It's not internally peaceful and also externally peaceful. And so, I am a mama bear when it comes to living within a peaceful environment. It's something that's a non-negotiable for me. My it's something that in my programs I call environmental management, that it's up to me to monitor the tone and the textures of my immediate environment. And I have rules for my house and about the what conversations, the tones of people, and I do it unapologetically, because at the end of the day, I'm an empath and I'm going to absorb it all. And I respect the fact that my body said to me, if you store this toxicity, I'm going to get sick. Do you understand that? And so I made an agreement with my body. Got it. Got it really clear.
Oh, I love how deeply connected you are to your body and you have that agreement. I did want to take a few moments because I'm spiritual too. And so I wanted to talk about your connection with the divine, your downloads. Like what was the first time you connected to God or your spirits, your soul? What do you like to call it?
So I call it the Great Divine,
The great
and
divine.
I do get great downloads of wisdom, and that I'll fast forward. I'll toggle back and forth on this answer, but the reason, when people say, "Well, how do you know it's just not your wisdom?" I'm like, because it's so much smarter than me, and sometimes what comes out of my mouth or off my pen is like, "Wow!" Even I'm impressed by it.
That's
So,
amazing.
the very first time that it happened to me, I think that I was around 5 years old. And
Oh, how sweet.
yeah, I'll give you the really neat story. So, I was around 5 years old and I had this dream that I've never forgotten. And I was in paradise, in heaven, whatever you want to call it. And I was holding on like this, and it was just pure love like I had never felt. And all of a sudden I started to get pulled away from it. And I began panicking and saying, no, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And the message that was given to me was, you have to go because you have a great mission for your life. And I woke up, and so from it's a little girl, and I was so confused about what I experienced, and went through many years of my life thinking, I'm so confused now, because if I'm supposed to be here, why is life so hard? And I'm so unclear. And so I carried that for a long time. And then I was around, and I was always have intuition. But I was very, I had my outlet of going to church at that time. And as I said, I came from a very conservative family.
Was that Catholic church?
It was a mixture of a Catholic church and Protestant church. And then unfortunately I was pulled into a Christian cult. And
Christian. Okay.
Yeah, what happened from there is not from my parents. It didn't happen from my parents. It actually, as cults work, first they got my older sister, and then I was second in line. So then she recruited me, and then she recruited my brother. And I can only laugh about it now because
I know. I've been there in college. Actually, I was in a Christian cult also.
Yeah. And so, I had to do years of unprogramming from it, the fear, the terror that they put into you. So during those years, I had really no connection to my authentic spirit self, because it was all being put in organized religion, and I was doing what I thought. So part of my transformation, was when I was in my late 20s, early 30s, I started to come out of all this. And so one day I was in my prayer and meditation time, and I was sitting there, and all of a sudden my body just kind of began to rock like this. And I remember thinking, oh, this feels like I'm being like gently rocked. And in a split second, I can't even describe to you what I felt. Magnificence, clarity, love deeper than I can even express, brilliance, compassion, joy. I mean, it was such an explosion of emotions that came over me. And I opened my eyes and I just said, my God, what was that? And a very clear download came through, and it said, that's what I created when I created woman. And it was so transformational for me, because ever since that day, I have experienced the perfect version as to who we are made. I had 8 seconds of it, and it was so remarkable, magnificent. There are no words for it. But it was, what was left behind was this wonderful gift that I'm able to work with women, and I begin to see it again in them. I'm beginning, and then from there, what happened is learning more about, just opening up myself to these messages, to what I call now the Great Divine. And it's that voice, that inner knowledge, that inner knowing that shows up with lots of awareness and answers. And so my life's mission now is I work with women, of course. And I one of my companies, it's called the Feminine Boss Academy. And my goal is to teach women how to become the boss of their be and their business with feminine energy. So everything I do is about operating in the feminine aspects of energy, and so that we can have an effortless manifested life.
That's amazing. And if you don't mind me saying, I would like to say that you are also a powerful healer, and being in your presence, you have so much light and love that others can transform just by being in your presence, and embrace, especially women, embrace the divine feminine that has been waiting to get out. You can awaken that within them
Oh, thank you. I just love to hear that. That's just my life's heart and passion and my clear purpose. I was given this amazing gift. It is a gift.
It is.
And I want to share one of the really neat downloads that the divine gave you. So one time I was at my writing desk and I was working on one of my books, and my life was still, in its effortful versions. And I wouldn't even say I was praying to God, universe, however you want to describe it. I was having one of my complaint sessions, chewing on my rock. And all of a sudden I get this download, and the download says soul questions. And I say, soul questions? What's a soul question? And so I went to Google and I Googled soul questions, and even Google didn't know what a soul question was. So I'm like, okay, you got me. So I go back to my prayer and meditation time. I'm like, what's a soul question? And that download that I got said, a soul question is the question that you arrive to this existence with, that we're supposed to spend a lifetime unfolding and unwrapping. And I looked at my life and I looked at the pain that I went through, and in love, and being the wounded empath and being the codependent and being that love addict, and all the different things that I went through. And I realized like that my soul question, and it ties right around to the front of this interview, my soul question was, what does it mean to authentically love yourself? And it was from that day forward that I began on this beautiful journey to understand, what is this thing called self-love? Why do we need it? What does it look, feel, and sound like? How is it different from narcissism, where, I've seen people choose themselves their whole life, and it comes very unnatural for me to just choose myself, and it comes unnatural for most women because we're compassionate beings. We don't rest at night unless we know that the people around us are safe and happy. And so that was my big journey to entering into who I am today. Really being introduced to, as I know it now, the divine. At that time, it was just messages would come through, and this journey to self-love is what navigated me back to myself, back to my divine feminine. And I think that almost every woman, and I know it happened to me, that when it was first mentioned, the divine feminine, I said, what in the world is that? That sounds like the most delicious flavor at 31 flavors. And I need to consume every drop of that.
When
And
was that? Like, how long ago was that? Was that like 20 years, 10 years?
I would say that it started to ease into my life maybe 10, 15 years ago. Just a very gentle, a drop here and a drop there. And
I've only had it like a few years. For me, it's only been a few years.
It's just, I mean, it's, and the thing that I absolutely love about this subject is that, let's say that's 10 years, just to get more of a clarity on it, that every day I'm discovering something new. Every day I'm discovering something more empowering. And I think that it's so important in this day and age that every woman needs this education. I mean, both males and females have the masculine and the feminine energy, the yin and the yang, the white and the black, the yes and the no, the up and the down, these polar opposite. That's what makes us whole individuals. But especially as women, we're not taught what that is, how to connect with it. And we're basically walking around as a half of a person, or operating with way too much masculine energy, and then wondering why life feels so hard. Well, because our magic is our feminine, and we need to be, that needs to be like our first scent of our perfume is that feminine. And in our culture, we have been trained to have the first scent to be the masculine. And so I'm really passionate about having women bring that into balance. My conferences, Every year it's called the Discover the Divine. Every year it takes place in Greece. This is our 5th annual. And this year, the theme is called Manifest Like a Queen. And my slogan to describe it is, inside every woman rests two powers, her princess and her warrior. And when the two meet, we become a queen. And so that's why, we have different sides of ourselves, but we need to root it in our feminine.
Yeah. And have that be the leader in our lives.
For me, it is. It's the, call it a God source, call it a love source. It's the source. And as you said that you were, brought into the cult and raised in religion and things like that, this is very masculine teachings. The male God, the do, and so we need to just bring things back into balance. And I believe that it's one of the things that will heal our body. It will certainly give us back our femininity. It will help recalibrate everything. When you start to manifest with this feminine energy as your base, it becomes effortless.
I love that. And like I said, I've just been tuning into that energy for the past couple years, maybe 2 years. But I think that diagnosis of cancer really helped me. I felt like that was a missing component in my life, that connection with the divine feminine. That was me. And the goddesses started to come in through my healings and everything. So they're wanting to help us, ascend as women.
Exactly. I was just reading something last night, and the author was talking about why certain things don't manifest as quickly in our life. And he used the analogy of, imagine that there's angels all around you, and you're yelling at the angels saying, why aren't you interceding? Why aren't you helping me? And he said something really basic. You got to ask. You got to open the door. You got to open the possibility that they are there, but you can't expect, love can't be ignored. And so if we're ignoring that this presence exists, how can anybody walk through that door?
Yeah, beautiful. So what is Zen success to you?
What is Zen success? Well, I think the two words right there, I think that's rooted in the divine feminine within itself, because Zen is that of peace and flow. And those are two very feminine energies. And success is a very masculine energy, which is, the outcome, the external. This is what it is. And so to me, it's the combination, that beautiful harmony that we need to reach, especially as women, where there's that divine feminine Zen and that masculine success, and blending those two for a true formula for success for life.
Thank you for that. I really love that insight. No one has brought that to my show before, and I really resonate with that contrast that you mentioned. It's like that dance of the feminine and masculine. Well, it's been such a pleasure getting to know you, hearing about your programs on self-love, your incredible retreat coming up, and embodying the divine feminine. And I'll put your website and how to buy your books. And just to mention all of her books, because we didn't really talk about your books too much. We just chatting and, connecting. Don't Touch My Tiara. Here's all of her books. Empowerment is Sexy. How Not to Care What People Think. The Courage to Say No More. And she has an upcoming book on manifesting, which I'm so excited about.
And Narc.tion.ar.y.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, and I'm so glad that you mentioned that one. Yes. So I'll put your website in the show notes. And thank you so much for being on my show today, Dr. Tracy.
Thank you for having me, and all the best to you, and keep up the good work, because the work is good.
Oh, thank you.
That's it for today's episode of Zen Success. Head on over to iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or wherever you listen to shows. Subscribe to the show and share with friends. Be sure to head on over to ZenSuccessShow.com to help you on your Zen success journey, and join us on the next episode. May you find your own Zen success in life.